So, what if BFDI was a contestant vote? If you don't already know, a contestant vote is just when the characters in the show vote instead of you viewers. For an example, think of BFDI 10, where Teardrop got eliminated despite having less votes than Snowball because the other characters voted her off. Also, subscribe or else he wins Teapot. So in episode 1, there are very little changes. The Squishy Cherries and the Squashy Grape teams are still formed like in canon, and the Squashy Grapes team still loses the challenge and is up for elimination. But instead of it happening next episode, the contestants are immediately brought to the elimination area where they're prompted to vote off one of their team members. And without fail, there would be two main candidates for this elimination, those being Snowball and Flower. And yeah, do I even need to say who would get out of this scenario? Everyone aside from Golf Ball and Flower would vote Flower since she's rude, annoying, has no friends, and is egotistical. Although Snowball would also receive 2 votes total. One from Golf Ball because he threw her off a cliff, and also Flower because Snowball refused to beat up people for her, which hurt her ego. So Flower sent off to the TLC, not too dissimilar to the original. And also a new alliance is formed, that being the Free Smart Alliance, consisting of Bubble, Match, and Pencil. There would also be some unofficial alliances such as Blocky, Eraser, and Pen's trio, and Golf Ball and Tennis Ball's duo, although they are more like friendships as opposed to allies. Anyways. In episode 2, Pen receives a win token for completing the challenge for her team last episode. Basically, a win token allows a contestant to have their vote when up for elimination. This may come in handy later on. But since it's so early on, there hasn't been any significant changes, so Nita would still win the challenge for her team and get a win token for completing the obstacle first, and the Squishy Cherries still end up losing this episode. But now on to the elimination. Obviously, all of Free Smart would vote for Spongy since they find him repulsive for not only being vertically challenged, but also very stinky. Like, genuinely, they were so petty to the point they made an entire song where they just bashed Spongy's fatness. Like, wow.
1, 2, 3, 4. Who do we not adore? Spongy. Wait, Spongy.
While Spongy would vote for Pencil for making fun of his thickness, and Woody would vote for Pen for barfing on him in episode 1. Unfortunately for Woody, the bros, aka Pen, Eraser, and Blocky would all vote Woody for being a weak coward. And Pen would obviously join in, seeing as that she was so physically repulsed by Woody that she literally barfed on him, leaving Fire as the final vote. He doesn't even really have any beef with anyone, so if I had to guess, he would just vote Woody for being useless, because at least Spongy was useful enough to be used as a makeshift raft. So in a 5-3-1-1 vote, Woody is eliminated and treated with the TLC. So in episode 3, this is where the first change would happen. Originally, Spongy got eliminated instead of Woody, so he'd replace Woody in this timeline, which would be a significant help to his team, as he wouldn't have a phobia of tests and would actually be able to answer questions. Although sadly for the Squishy Cherries, they would still lose as a result of Blocky and Pen cheating on the test. For the Squishy Cherries to win, Spongy would need to get a perfect 20 out of 20 to even out the score, and not even Golf Ball could get a 20 out of 20, so there's no way our incredibly chunky Fred could. At best, he would score a 10 out of 20. Also, Golf Ball earned himself a win token for having the highest grade. But now onto the elimination. Obviously, Eraser and Pen would try to justify Blocky's cheating, but would follow mostly deaf ears, as Free Smart, Pen, Fiery, and Spongy would all vote Blocky off, while Eraser, Pen, and Blocky would vote Pen. So in a 6-3 vote, Blocky's eliminated from the show. As shown in BFB and Teapot, Pen gets extremely emotional whenever his friends get eliminated from the show, so he would obviously be outraged at his team for voting Blocky, who's such a great guy, especially so early on. This would put a major target on his back, but is he doomed? Well, we'll see. So in episode 4, the first part of the challenge is to make a cake that will be ranked by the announcer, Flower, and a dice. In this timeline, the Squashy Grapes voted off Flower, so she would be petty about it and almost score all the Squashy Grapes a 0 out of 10 for daring to vote her off, although with winning part 1. Unluckily for the Squashy Grapes though, having Spongy on the team would make part 2 of the challenge really easy, as is to eat 100 chocolate balls, and well, Spongy is quite skilled at these challenges. So in a 1-on-1 tie, the announcer would announce a tiebreaker challenge. The tiebreaker challenge is to break the tie first, which Snowball does, granting his team immunity and putting the Squishy Cherries up for elimination again. By this point, Spongy would have at least gained some respect from his team for being useful in challenges, which would lead a new target to being Pen, for not only being a cheater in BFDI 3, but also being quite rude to the rest of the team. Luckily for Pen, Pencil still hates Spongy too much, leading to her voting him. Match would obviously follow since they're part of an alliance, and Pen and Racer would also do the same. Although sadly for Pen, Fiery, Pen, Bubble, and Spongy would all vote Pen for cheating in last challenge. This leads to a 2-way tie with 4 votes each. Pen would be more likely to win any tiebreaker, meaning that Spongy's out, but the dynamics change significantly, as Bubble is somewhat ostracized from her alliance as she defied their vote, leading to her developing more of a friendship with Fiery instead. Now, you might think the alliance is more loyal than that, but in canon, the alliance almost broke up because Bubble wasn't able to count to 3, which made Match and Pencil think that she was dumb. Now imagine how they would react if they found out Bubble didn't vote with them. Pen and Eraser would become closer to Pencil and Match, while Pen would be pretty much hated by everyone else. The title is quite self-explanatory. The challenge is across the bridge. Being the idiot Snowball is, Snowball destroys the bridge while trying to throw a tennis ball and golf ball off the cliff. Although Snowball manages to clutch up in the tiebreaker, meaning that the Squishy Cherries losing streak continues on. At this point, the rest of the Squishy Cherries would be sick of Pin's constant bossy attitude. Despite having a win token, Pin is rather delusional, believing that everyone likes her, so she wouldn't even bother using it since she's not at risk. But she would be dead wrong. She would be completely blindsided as she gets eliminated to a 6-1 vote, an almost unanimous vote. So in episode 6, the challenge is for the teams to break into teams of 3. The team orders would stay the same. Pen, Eraser, and Fiery's team would still get first place like in the original. Team Coiny, Needle, and Ice Cube would end up last place and be up for elimination. This time, Needle would use her win token, seeing how Pin got out last time as a result of her not using it. Although it would be a complete waste, as only Ice Cube voted for her, while Coiny and Needle voted off Ice Cube, since Needle admitted that she likes Coiny and BFDI won, and also they are both on friendly terms. While Ice Cube would get eliminated, unbeknownst to Coiny and Needle, Ice Cube would want revenge, as overall she went from 7th place in canon to 19th place in this timeline. So the challenge is to complete a 3x3 puzzle. The Squashy Grapes would have an advantage since they have Golf Ball and Tennis Ball on their team, meanwhile the Squishy Cherries wouldn't even know that their pieces are upside down. So yeah, the Squishy Cherries are absolutely cooked. Although luckily for them, there's no elimination. Instead, the Squashy Grapes get to steal one of their team members, which they choose Fiery, just like in the original. In episode 8, the challenge is a relay race, but since the Squashy Grapes have 9 members to the Squishy Cherries 5 members, 4 of them will be forced to sit out. The 5 participating contestants will be decided by a wheel, and they would be Fiery, Needle, Leafy, Golf Ball, and Rocky. And the Squishy Cherries would lose just like in canon, causing Eraser, Pencil, Match, and Pen to dislike Bubble even more for fumbling the challenge. This not only puts her in a bad place in her alliance, since now Pencil and Match actively see her as a weak link, putting her at great risk of elimination. But for now, Bubble gets off rather easy since it's a rejoin episode, meaning the Squashy Grapes get to vote a previously eliminated contestant to rejoin. Out of the 6 eliminated contestants, Flower, Woody, Pin, and Spongy are all immediately ruled out due to their flaws, leaving the top 2 picks as Blocky and Ice Cube. Pretty obviously, Ice Cube is picked to rejoin by our old team members, though Needle and Coiny are now in trouble since Ice Cube wants revenge on them for voting her off. In episode 9, now that the Squashy Grapes have 10 members to the Squishy Cherries 5 members, they will split off into 2 teams of 5 to make it fair. Leafy and Rocky will get to decide the new team names, and Leafy would immediately pick her friend Ice Cube, followed by Teardrop, Snowball, and Fiery. Rocky's team would pick Tennis Ball, Golf Ball, Coiny, and Needle. Needle and Coiny would become a duo as Ice Cube, Leafy, and Teardrop would dislike them. But now onto the team names. Leafy's team name would be called the Squashy Grapes, while Rocky's team would be called another name. And also, the announcer announces a special twist.
Voters will vote 2 people off the losing team afterward. The winning team chooses one of the 2 onto their team.
And the challenge is a 6-legged race. The Squashy Grapes would still lose due to Snowball tying them all up into a ball, but the rest of the race would be close between the Cherries and the another namers. But considering that Fiery and his fear of heights has been replaced by Needle's speed and athleticism, I give it to the another namers. At this point, everyone on the Cherries would really not like Bubble and basically gang up against her, because now they all blame her for losing the challenge as she distracted them by talking. So in episode 9's elimination, everyone on the Squashy Grapes would rightfully vote off Snowball for throwing the last challenge, although Snowball would bring Teardrop down with him by voting her, sending them both to the danger zone, where their fate will be decided by another namers. Rocky would probably vote for Snowball since Rocky seems to like him, while Tennis Ball and Golf Ball would go for Teardrop. As for Needle and Coiny, both decide to vote for Snowball as he is friendly of Coiny and his strength is appreciated by Needle. Also, Teardrop hates them, so yeah. In a 3-2 vote, many teardrops are shed for Teardrop. And the next challenge is a crying contest. Although that challenge goes nowhere because they all tie, so they move on to a skiing contest where the Squashy Grapes get second. But first place and third place are unknown due to an avalanche causing the Squishy Cherries and another name to tie, so they have to do a handstand competition. Since Fire isn't here to fight with Coiny, another name would have a fully locked in Coiny and Needle, whose athletic abilities, even despite Rocky's barf, I think would be enough to carry the team and win, and earn herself a second win token, leading the Squishy Cherries to be up for elimination. Continuing last episode's elimination, by this point, Pencil and Mash's friendship with Bubble would have deteriorated so significantly that Bubble would be kicked out from the alliance and be ganged up on by the rest of her team in a 4-1 vote. But who would Bubble vote for? Well, Pencil, due to her feeling like she got backstabbed by Pencil since she's the alliance leader, leading to Pencil and Bubble being sent to another name to have their fates decided. Rocky would vote for Bubble to stay since Pencil is mean to him, while Snowball, Needle, and Coiny would all vote Pencil since Bubble is a wimp. Also, Bubble called Needle needy, and Quinny is friends with Snowball and Needle, so they vote with him, leaving it down to Tennis Ball and Golf Ball. I actually think that Tennis Ball would vote for Bubble since he's shown to be more empathetic, while Golf Ball would vote Pencil since he's shown to be more strategic than Tennis Ball. So in a 4-2 vote, Bubble is out of here, but now onto the challenge, which is not to have your balloon popped. Rocky and Ice Cube would be easy pickings for this challenge, while Snowball would go pop Golf Ball's bubble despite being on the same team since he thinks pink is girly. I think Needle would dominate in this challenge by using herself as a battling ramp to pop other balloons, which she would be able to do by popping Eraser and Pen's balloon. Coiny and Fiery would also fight like usual, but Fiery would pop his own balloon due to his heat, leaving Leafy and Match as the last ones left on their respective teams. Based on Leafy's dodging pattern in this episode, I think she would be able to outlast Match, leading to the Squishy Cherries losing yet again. So, that's about it for part 1. What did you think? Did you like the elimination order or nah? Anyways, part 2 will come out soon, I promise.